Hey Beck, I'm your Luna, Lish, and I'm here to help you navigate out of your trials and tribulations and move into your purpose. So, if your soul is ready to adhere to its mission, then raise your glass, fix your crown, and settle in. This is Ready to Reign. Marinva, good morning and welcome to episode number 4. I am so happy you are here today because today we are not only talking about my arch nemesis, but probably the most valuable topic I could give advice for anyone wanting to live a better life. Are you ready? If I asked you how rich you were, what would your answer be? Write down your immediate thought and then sit with it for a second. Really let that word sink in. Rich. We throw it around constantly, and honestly, I feel like it has to be one of the most used words in the English language. When I grow up, I want to be rich. If I were rich, I'd buy. If only I were rich, then I wouldn't have to worry about. Rich is always associated with the excess of money. But what if I told you that money isn't a destination or a goal? Money is a tool. Freedom is the goal. And that is where most of us seem to mess up. You're rich if you have kids, family, a roof over your head, the ability to buy food, if you have friends, or a way to make money. But the money itself is not what makes you rich. I, too, grew up thinking about money all of the time. And all I got back from it was a buttload of anxiety and the ability to always be broke regardless of how much or how little I earned. When I finally decided that enough was enough and I would take control of my own life instead of just reacting to what happened around me, my mindset and my actions around money was the first thing I faced because it was what caused the most grief in my life. And that was in 2020. Now coming into 2026, I might not be exactly where I would like to ultimately be financially, but I did figure out what money managing skills work for me, what saving strategy works for me, and I have a savings for the very first time in my 39 years of life so far, and I just paid my Jeep off. The most difficult part is finding what method works for you. So I am going to share what ultimately seemed to work for me and how I am able to relieve financial stress making less than $40,000 a year. The first thing I need you to understand is that budgeting is not a restriction. It's liberation. It's a roadmap and a plan to your financial goals. People always see the cars, the house, the lifestyle, and the name brand clothes. But a high income with low discipline is still poverty. It's just wearing more expensive shoes and has a larger debt margin. I highly recommend working on your own mindset and personal goals before this as well. That's why I put the life audit as episode 1, because if you are like me, all those bags, shoes, and lifestyle things that I thought I wanted were not me. I thought it was the only way out of the life I didn't like. But if you don't have a clear picture yet, that's okay too. Everything will fluctuate as you grow and become the person you are destined to be. Okay, now take a deep breath with me. And then grab a pen and a notebook, maybe a little drinky drink. Right now, I'm actually drinking my BCAAs and hydration supplements. So, whatever you want, and let's get started. This is going to be difficult at first, but the relief you feel after figuring this out will give you air like you've never known, okay? And you can do this. And I know this because I did this. And I never thought I'd be able to do this. All right, so first actionable step is to identify all of your debt. Car note, student loans, outstanding doctor bills, collection notices, etc. I also want you to figure out the interest rate on each, the current payoff amount on each, if there is one, and if you're making payments, write down what day each month the payment is due or automatically pays. Either make a note to do this or stop this podcast right now, go do it, and then come back. So why is this important? You aren't going to overcome your financial issues unless you know what the issues are and free up the financial burden you currently have right now. Right now, you're in survival mode, living paycheck to paycheck, and most, if not all of your money is scattered too many places. This is where you too will need to decide that enough is enough, that money and circumstances no longer control you, and that you have the power to change everything around you. When I first started this in 2020, I had 3 or 4 separate debt collections. I had recently resolved my first and only attempt at having a credit card. I had a car note that I actually couldn't afford, and a mountain of student loan debt, plus a few doctor bills that were adding up, some school-related fees from my first son, Monkey, and odds and ends stuff like paying back a payday loan. And I pretty much avoided it all until this point. So whatever you're feeling, please don't feel ashamed at where your starting point is. We all start somewhere. You should feel excited and proud of yourself that you are facing your fear, because financial debt is not something that is a light subject. It's actually a very crippling thing to a lot of people. So give yourself a little applause for even clicking on this episode. Now, once you have your list, look for smaller, more quickly managed debt first. For me, anytime, even now, if I have multiple outstanding bills pop up, I look at the easiest payoff first. 2026 had a great start for us, but we have also had so many sickness episodes already this year. It's really been a little bit ridiculous, and now I have several doctor bills that are popping up. I'm going to pay those immediately. My reasoning is that it gives me a quick win and boosts my confidence to take charge of my life. You might have thousands in hospital bills for whatever reason, so maybe that doesn't make sense for you because it isn't the lowest bill you have, and that's perfectly fine. Just identify the lowest item or items on your list first. Ultimately, we are concentrating on paying that off and then covering essential needs like rent, food, transportation. Focusing on nourishing our bodies and creating an inner sense of calm and creating that breathing room in our paychecks. I also want you to identify a reward for yourself each time you pay something off. Mine was normally an article of clothing because I just really enjoy clothes, but I was pregnant in 2020, so I wanted motivation for after my daughter was born in order to lose the baby weight. I would shop on Poshmark or Mercari so that I could get something I actually wanted, but for much cheaper than retail value. And I actually still do this to save money. Because of COVID and hormones keeping me from having a baby shower, I also had to catch myself at this time because I was spending so much on baby stuff. And I bought almost everything myself. I was also trying something for a few months, and then when it didn't work how I expected, I would change tactics. And so there would be like 3 paychecks in a row I quote unquote rewarded myself with, but really it was a case of old habits dying hard. I shopped when I stressed. Although I wasn't doing it consistently, it was still creeping up. So make sure your reward is actually just a reward, not a setback. You know what you can ideally afford. Don't go overboard, okay? Now, this stage is where I've been at for 5 years. I had setbacks. I had 2 babies and a miscarriage. I lost my job, spent a whole summer not working much, and it wasn't until I found my current 9 to 5 that I got over the hurdle. So, depending on how much debt you have and how mentally resilient you allow yourself to become, this stage may drag out. Don't lose faith. It's absolutely possible, and you are absolutely capable regardless of where you are starting out. Okay, take a breath, let all of that digest, and then we'll move into the second actionable step. So we are still in survival mode, but we are starting to get debt paid. We are seeing wins, and we are feeling just a tad bit lighter, but still having waves of struggling. You can do this next step during or after paying off debt. I didn't take saving money super seriously. It was more experimental until I found something that worked for me. But after the first 3 years of just constantly feeling like all of the money went everywhere but to me, and then having a big ticket fix pop up, I knew it was time to stop messing around and build a capacity to hold on to money as well as pay off the last few things of debt. So when I started my current 9 to 5 job, I started my 401k from zero. I had a 401k from previous employment, but I did take it out in order to pay off debt. It was really scary for me, but I learned a lot from this process. My employer now has a 401k match, and I started my savings journey with taking advantage of that almost immediately. Then I continued on fighting my debt battle. Learning my new job actually ended up being a lot more mentally exhausting than I thought it would be in the beginning. So it was several months into my new role before I tried working on a new emergency fund or savings system apart from my 401k. Apart from a retirement account, having an emergency fund is vital for bigger unforeseen costs like car repairs. And now I have ultimately gone about savings very different from just having a savings account. I'm not going to dive too deep during this episode, but I am working on something special for those who need specific guidance on this or any other topic we discuss in this podcast. So stay tuned for that. I started with my emergency fund and set my first savings goal for it at 1 month of expenses. Then I picked a source that would give me a high yield savings account. Think Amex, SoFi, Synchrony, Western Alliance, Capital One. There are a lot of options, so just Google high yield savings accounts and pick one that works for you. This account is my emergency fund. My goal is to have at least a year's worth of expenses saved up, but like I said, I started with just 1 month. Currently, I am back down to a month of savings because life, of course, happened, but the fact I have anything is absolutely amazing to me, and I don't want you to be ashamed to celebrate every single win, no matter how big or small you feel like it is, because it is a win. It is a very personal win. Next, after my emergency fund, I now have what I call sinking funds. Now, I don't know if sinking funds is the actual technical term. I've only heard one person so far use that term or phrase, and she's a Canadian. But nevertheless, let me explain what these are. So when I get paid, I have a set amount of my check immediately get dispensed between multiple sinking funds. I think I have like 7. I have these set up through Fidelity, and they are like mini high yield savings accounts. They don't give as high of an interest as like Amex or Capital One. However, I want to say they're like 2 point something interest, which is still really good. It's still better than a regular checking account. I have one for my Jeep, one for celebrations, one for my home, one for shopping, and I even have one for giving because I want to be able to give back when I feel like giving back, and I don't want it to take away from my kids or my family and providing for them what I regularly do on the week. So I also have a giving fund that I put money into. I use these instead of my actual bank account to pay for things. So let's use my Jeep sinking fund as an example. Like I said, I have money every time I get paid going into that account automatically every paycheck without fail. If my Jeep doesn't need anything, then the money sits there and gains interest each month. But if I need gas, repairs, if I need new tires, an oil change, whatever it might be, I don't have to look at my bank account and be like, oh my God, do I have money for my oil change? I already know I do because I have been automatically setting money back for months. When I first started this, I put $5 every check into the account. It didn't cover my oil change completely, but it lightened the burden of car maintenance so that I didn't have to panic when it was time. Because even though I have a little sticker that says when my oil changes, it still feels like it comes out of nowhere. This is precisely the type of financial relief you are actually striving for. Having more money isn't actually about buying everything or the ability to buy everything. It's about the freedom and peace of mind your budget creates for you at any income level. I make less than $40,000 a year right now, and I feel more rich than I ever have, and I used to make a little more than I do now. Now, all my bases are covered, and I'm now paying on my last piece of debt burden, my dreaded student loan. Dun, dun, dun. And it's down to about $5,000 from about $16,000. That's huge. I have 3 kids, and the oldest is 18, graduating and leaving for college in the fall. We were looking for a car for him, and even just 3 years ago, that would have sent me into a downward spiral. But now I'm not panicked. I'm actually excited for him and to have the first real thing that is actually all his. And I'm showing him smarter money habits that I didn't have when I was his age. And I'm actually really excited to be in a place that I can help him, because it was really frustrating getting put into a debt situation with my student loan and not really knowing or understanding the actual ramifications of it, and then not having parents that were helping me. So this whole experience is really important to me. And I feel very lucky that I'm able to show him a better way to do life as an adult. I hope now you can see how important a budget is, but also how not scary it can be. Okay, check-in time. How are you guys doing? Is it a lot? Too much? Are you good? Breathe? Are you not panicked? Do you feel a little ease creeping in? If you need to take a pause, take a pause. If you need to come back to this later, by all means, come back to this later. I'm not going to be heartbroken that you had to pause the video and come back in a week. This stuff can get really heavy and is really mentally daunting. Okay, now, third actionable step. Let's build your budget. Once you have a complete picture of your debt and have a goal of building an emergency fund, as well as knowing how much your first savings goal is, your budget is what will help you get there. Like I said before, I just worked on paying all of the smaller debt off first before really working on my budget seriously. That's not to say I didn't write everything down. I was constantly writing everything down as if I was going to forget it. But it was very important for me to see just how far over my means I was living. But if I had a doctor bill for $65, I just paid it. I didn't budget it. And I forced myself to forgo whatever the stress was telling me to spend that money on. If you need to budget it though, by all means, do that. Remember, I'm explaining what helped me, but you might need to tweak some things. Don't be afraid to experiment to see what works best. Okay, first I need you to write down your average take-home pay in the last 6 months. I chose 6 months because sometimes I get a lot of overtime and other times I don't. I even went as far as taking away the overtime amount, so I wouldn't rely on that. That was extra money for me. Once you have your monthly take home pay as a baseline, make a list of all the places your money is currently going: debt, rent, utilities, childcare, what you spend on food, gas, takeout, subscriptions. List absolutely everything that you can possibly think of. Even check your emails because I bet you're going to forget something. Next, you're going to split that list into 4 areas. The first area is your essentials. Think gas, transportation, car note, rent, utilities, childcare, groceries. This is bare minimum. You have to pay these or you just can't function at a base level. The second area is going to be for non-essentials like shopping, entertainment, takeout. And then the third will be things like your hidden costs, subscriptions, impulse buying. And then I added a fourth, which will be your excessive debt. So think student loans, debt collection, doctor bills, things like that. Things you don't necessarily pay on monthly, but right now you have that bill. I really like Ramit Sethi's YouTube, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He was actually the first person that made complete and absolute clear sense to me. So a lot of what I do now is based off of what I learned from him, but with my own little tweaks. So if you're listening to me, then definitely add him to your playlist. And he will have even more deep dives into all of this, including a video where he breaks down specific income brackets and what their goals should be as far as paying off debt, saving money, all of that. He is definitely my financial Yoda, and I can't recommend him enough. Okay, so now we have our 4 groups of expenses. Deduct everything you spend from Area 1, the essentials, from your monthly take-home pay. If your rent is $1,000, then you're going to subtract $1,000 from your monthly take-home pay. And then you're going to move down your list. The goal is to work down by priorities and see what you can realistically put towards your debt to pay it off, but still leave room to enjoy life. After you've subtracted the essentials, see if that's 60% of your take-home pay or less. This is just kind of a side note, but if it's not, then we either need to find a way to reduce that cost or we need to put in some work for a raise, or maybe a second job for a short time. Ramit put debt in with essentials, but I split it out on its own section because I would work really hard to pay off one thing and then reward myself. I have always had a hard time just buying one shirt to treat myself or just buy a coffee for my work in office days and not on my at-home days. So for me, being super disciplined until a goal was reached and then taking a break was better. But again, you do what fits best for you. Next would be investments. Investments should be 10% of your earnings. I want to throw this in really fast because this is important and we will cover it at some other point, but just starting with your 401k is fantastic. And for me, it comes out before my check even hits my bank account, so this section is already taken care of for me. I don't have to include it, but you might need to. So if you have to set this up yourself, then subtract it from your total monthly income as well. For me, this is now stocks, but at first it was just putting it into my sinking funds. I was investing in my future piece by putting this money into my sinking funds, gaining interest, but knowing if I needed gas money, I had it set aside to use. And now that I'm almost debt free, I feel more comfortable to start pursuing investing in stocks and learning that. So don't fret, we will get there, but even just using your 401k for your investment piece is perfectly fine. After that, we have your emergency fund being 5 to 10%. You might need to start small at first depending on how your finances look, But giving yourself even a small amount of wiggle room is fresh air. I recommend starting with $20 into your emergency fund per check. But even if you have to start with just $5 at first, like I did, that's better than nothing. And bonus points if it's automatically transferred to savings so you don't even miss it. So figure out the amount that you're going to start with in this section and subtract it from what's left of your total monthly income. Now you are going to look at your debt list. We need to get your debt gone. We have essentials covered. We have investing in future us covered. And we are starting an emergency fund. Pick which debt you want to pay off first. You can use the avalanche method or the snowball method, whichever fits your lifestyle, but pick one thing to start paying off and then take the total amount of minimum monthly payments from your debt category, subtract it from what's left of your monthly income, and see what's left. This part may get a little confusing, so just bear with me. I compare my non-essentials with my hidden leaks and the first debt item I decided to pay off. There have been several times that I decided it was too much for my nervous system, and I canceled every subscription I had. I went 2 months in a row, no takeout, no excessive spending, no nothing. They were basically no spend months, essentials only. And I didn't go out or do anything just so I could put extra money towards my debt. This might not work for you. And I don't want you to hate your life. For me, the sooner the debt was gone, the sooner I could do better things without worrying about the constant phone calls and having no money. So look and see what you can do without. Even if you go without it for just a month or 2 months, and then the third month you allow yourself to live a little bit. You're basically picking your heart here. Once you have a better idea of where your money is actually going, the easier it will be to shift. I think the single best decision I made while getting out of debt was creating those sinking funds. It helped me stop being a nervous wreck checking my bank account every 15 seconds to see how broke I was, and allowed me a freedom to pay on things but still know there was a cushion if I needed to buy more diapers or get gas again before payday. If you take anything away from this episode, just know that it might be tough at first. But once I was consistent for about a month and a half, it became just what I did instead of something I was forcing myself to do. I really hope this helps you in so many ways, and I am so thankful to have you pop in today. Let me know your biggest money struggle and your biggest financial win so far this year. I'd love for all of us to help each other lead a more freeing life. Until next week, I love your faces so very much, and I will talk to you Tuesday. Bye.
Oh, 1 mile in fog patches and showers early Friday, but improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.
Stars shining bright above.